Hello everyone. I'm going to be doing a review for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Seeing as we weren't able to do a podcast this week, spoiler alerts because I'm going to talk about it a lot. I thought it'd be interesting to point out that I made a little last-minute theory video that started getting a lot of views recently, so that's pretty interesting. Pointing out, just connecting the dots to all the Marvel stuff that's been going on. And as soon as I posted it, they had just finished up doing the world premiere of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and they were having a red carpet interview with Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel, and he basically confirmed my theory, saying that the events of Loki led to the spell going wrong in Spider-Man. I feel pretty justified that I got that one right. Everyone else is going to say I'm crazy, but I don't think so. I'm already getting a lot of different people, leaving comments telling me that, hey, it's cool that you got it right, or like, oh, they should have done this in the movie. It's kind of neat. It's just a lot of nerd bragging points. Nothing, I get nothing out of it. It's a no prize, as old Stan Lee used to give out. This movie was kind of interesting. Spoiler alert. Getting into spoilers now. It's kind of fun getting to see what the multiverse looks like in movie form. We get introduced to a whole bunch of new characters, one of them being America Chavez. She's relatively new to the Marvel universe in the comic books. I think her earliest appearance was like 2017, I think. She basically has powers to punch holes into realities, so she can jump into other realities. So it was really nice seeing that in live action. The movie starts off with her and this variant Strange trying to get to the MacGuffin of the story, the Book of Asante or whatever. It's kind of interesting parallels that they threw in there. No Way Home. That was kind of fun. This movie felt very Sam Raimi. If you don't know who Sam Raimi is, he directed the first 3 original Spider-Man movies and The Evil Dead back in the 80s. He's done a lot of stuff in between. Drag Me to Hell. He has this way of doing comedic horror that's just his style. And this movie had his fingerprints all over it. Kind of feels like the whole movie is basically Strange going through a guilt trip about what happened in Infinity War. Making a really tough call and having tons of people suffer because of it. Not just, Tony Stark or any of the Avengers, Wanda, of course. But, he didn't foresee that people would suffer those 5 years of, the snap happening and all that. And it kind of shows that other multiverse Stranges don't have that sort of heart, that they all just have to do what they think is necessary, which was kind of an interesting contrast to him because he's usually an asshole. If it's not Tony Stark, it's Stephen Strange, who's the big jerk. I was extremely interested in the whole Wanda storyline in this because it's basically WandaVision season 2, or the conclusion of that. It seems that she hadn't really gotten over losing her kids. It seems that the end of WandaVision, she got used to the fact of not seeing Vision, but once the spell broke bad and she was able to hear her kids in the multiverse, that's when she realized, oh, I can just do that. I could just go look for them. So that's precisely what she does. And she uses this cool trick called dream walking. A bit of interesting lore that they added, which I think a lot of people have always speculated, is that whenever you dream, you're actually looking at an alternate universe, basically. And in this instance, it turns out that, that dream where you wake up in the middle of your classroom and you're in your underwear and everyone's laughing at you probably happens somewhere in the multiverse. Or, that dream about a clown chasing you and, is going to kill you. That's also probably out there. It's the multiverse. Why not? Kind of interesting how they laid that out. The one downside I will say is that they gave us a taste of what the multiverse can be, and that's fine. Each Marvel property was setting up a little piece of a little piece, and this is the larger piece that all of that led up to, but it's still relatively a smaller piece as to what we're gonna see. They kind of zipped through a lot of multiverses, a lot of different universes that exist out there, but didn't really sit in one particular one except for the main different universe, Earth 858, I believe. I guess that's where the Illuminati's universe was. That's a fascinating universe because everything by context clues would imply that the Avengers never happened, and instead maybe a tiny factions of groups like the Inhumans and the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. Maybe there was some Avengers, but not the ones we know. Well, no, I mean Peggy Carter was announced as the first Avenger in the movie, so one could apply. There are Avengers in this universe, just not the ones that we're familiar with. If I had to guess, I would want to say it's the one universe in What If where all the Avengers died before they were able to make the Avengers. I like that they were able to go ahead and have fun and just kill off all these, cameos, because that's all they really were. Because once again, in the grand, multiverse, it doesn't really matter. Let me talk about those cameos real quick. There was John Krasinski. You might know him from The Office. He played Mr. Fantastic, so that was pretty cool to see that because for a very long time, comic book fans wanted him to be Mr. Fantastic. Whether or not he'll continue to be Mr. Fantastic, it's hard to say. It was very nice to see him here. There was Monica Rambeau's mother, Captain Marvel in this universe, instead of Carol Danvers. Peggy Carter, of course. And then there was Black Bolt, which was interesting because he came from a short-lived TV show on ABC called The Inhumans, which fans tend not to consider canon, but whatever. In the grand multiverse, it doesn't matter. They got the same actor to play the same character, so it was really fun to see that type of surprise because you wouldn't expect it. And then, of course, Charles Xavier of the X. How cool was it to hear the musical cue? So cool. I hope that they continue on and use it. You know how the Spider-Man movies use the original 60s Spider-Man theme? I hope they do the same thing for the X-Men. The idea behind this guy is that maybe he's like a mixture between the animated Charles Xavier and the live-action Xavier, and they mush them together because he looks. They basically do him up exactly like he does look like in the animated series. So one would imply that maybe the X-Men in this universe kind of look like the ones in the animated universe. That'd be pretty fun. That also speaks to my theory that maybe the X-Men story that will be told in the new Disney Plus series will connect back to this, and we will see maybe like an origin point of that Xavier or something like that. It's all kind of messy right now because it's technically not even the animated Xavier. It's just another Xavier that happens to look like the animated one, and Patrick Stewart. Moving on, the movie went pretty quickly and was able to slow down when it needed to. I do wish that it slowed down just a little bit more. I would like to see more of the Illuminati just hanging out just before, their demise, which, holy crap, like, are you serious? You can get away with that in a Disney movie? Like, it's like Sam Raimi, asked where the line was. He's like, I got you. Black Bolt's death is forever gonna live in my brain, and I don't know that I'm okay with that. It's insane to me that we were able to see that. It felt like a well-structured movie, honestly. Most of these Marvel films lately, very good and well done, have felt a little mishmashy, and I think that has to do with the past 3 years, what they've been like. You can kind of tell in Spider-Man No Way Home how everyone's still hanging out in a room, or there's only two people in the room, or they're outside and there's nobody outside, maybe a few people out in the distance. This movie felt alive, there's a whole bunch of people everywhere. They made it a point, at the end of the movie, Doctor Strange is walking down the neighborhood and there's just people just all over the place. It feels alive, like a living New York. If you notice, everything's been kind of shallow, and that's been because they've had to film around COVID restrictions and all of that. Again, the gore that they were able to get away with, it wasn't terrible. There wasn't gushing blood all over the place, even though they still got away with having oil splashed all over her to make it look like it's blood, stuff like that. Zombie Strange, as gross and creepy as he looked, wasn't terrifying, and almost maybe this is me because I look for it, but I kind of saw where the makeup stopped on his neck. So I think it's intentionally kind of silly, because that's how Sam Raimi works. But also it's a Disney film, so we can have to skitter around all the really big spooky stuff. Even though there's a whole bunch. Oh my god, the cloak of the damned that he constructs out of demons. Oh, that's hardcore. That's heavy metal, man. They do more to like separate him and Christine Palmer better than they did with Thor and Natalie Portman in the last few Thor movies, because they were together and then all of a sudden they just weren't because Natalie Portman didn't want to play anymore. We'll see what happens because in Thor 4 she's back. She's going to be the female Thor, so we'll see how they handle the breakup. But like if you watch the first Doctor Strange, Christine is kind of a non-character for the most part. She's there and you can tell that he likes her, but nothing really comes, from any of that. He becomes the Sorcerer Supreme and boom, that's it. The end of the movie, and then he goes through all the stuff in Avengers, all the stuff in Spider-Man, so we don't really see anything. The most we get is from What If, where we see an alternate Strange and Christine try to make it work. Oh, and I guess the big thing is that like Christine and Strange in every universe is just an absolute point that they can never be together. That's the all around thing between them. Which, all right, whatever, I get it. But at least they were able to like close the door on it, because now it seems that Charlize Theron is going to come in and play. God, I forgot her name. I'm not Cersei, Sensi, something like that. She's apparently Doctor Strange's wife in the comic books. If you're wondering who Charlize Theron was at the end of this movie. Yeah, I would have liked to live a little bit longer in some of the other universes that we breezed by. It went super quick. The cartoon world almost didn't happen, even though you saw it happen, that kind of thing. I get it. They're just giving you a taste because later on it's going to get wild. But it was still a fun and entertaining ride. I didn't hate it. I'd recommend seeing it. If you're a parent, I would say there are some intense scenes. Depends how you think how tough your kid is. They like just toe the line. Well, why am I telling parents that are, if you're at this point of the video, you've probably already seen the movie. But if you're gonna tell your friend who has a kid, if they think their kid can handle it, go for it. But if you want my score on it, I'd say I'd give it a 4 out of 5. It was a decent movie. I very much enjoyed it, and it was worth the wait.